Hello everyone, this is Robert, and behind me, happily printing away, is the new Prusa MK4S that was just announced today. I've had this for about a week and I've been printing with it as much as I possibly can, and I have to say, it's pretty good. So let's talk about it. As always, let's start out with the disclaimer. Prusa did send me the MK4S, not necessarily for review, just for general feedback. I decided to make this video on my own because I wanted to be part of the club in announcing the new MK4S. You will not see any affiliate links other than my Amazon link down below in the description. I am not part of the BAMBU affiliate program, nor am I part of the Prusa affiliate program. So I really have no horse in this race. They sent me the printer for free. I already have it and I can say whatever I want to say about it. As always with any of these launches or reviews, you don't have to buy it right now. You can wait until more people get them, and make sure you watch every single review that you can get your hands on and see if the information all checks out and see if there's consistencies or inconsistencies with the information, because some people might have different impressions of it, or some people might have tested it more thoroughly than others. So that being said, let's talk about what's new with the Prusa MK4S. So of course the MK4S is an upgraded version of the MK4, and it has three major improvements. The first of which is an all-new cooling system. This has always been a big gripe of mine with the MK3 and the current MK4. It just had this little anemic cooling fan, and it just couldn't do overhangs and bridging as good as a lot of the other printers out there. The MK4S gets an all-new fan, all-new cooling system, and I'd say it's at least on par with everything out there, if not better. And I'll show this later on in the video. This thing can do overhangs beautifully now. The second thing it gets is increased flow. They're claiming anywhere between 30 and 50% increased flow. Still definitely not on the level of a true high-speed printer or something like the BAMBU, but definitely a necessary upgrade. And depending on the filament, you can definitely see some shortened times. I've been printing stuff on the MK4 and the MK4S, and yeah, it's definitely shaving off, let's say, 20% on most prints, and it puts it much closer to the print times of the BAMBU. The last upgrade is more of a cosmetic, but the MK4S actually has now a lot of injection molded parts, and a lot of the PETG parts have been replaced with a polycarbonate blend carbon fiber. So it just looks a lot nicer, it looks a lot more professional, and it looks a lot more in line with the price that they're asking for the thing. The MK4S is going to be offered in a kit form as well as the pre-assembled, and the pre-assembled is what I got, and it was pretty simple. You basically just pull it out of the box, plug in power, 10 minutes, you're off and printing, which is kind of the new standard for printers right now. So that was good to see. The price is going to be the same for the kit and the assembled as is for the current MK4. I've been told that the upgrade kit is only going to be $100, $99 to go from the MK4 to the MK4S, so that is nice to see. But everything else is pretty much staying the same. It's still going to be an open frame, bed slinger. The actual hot end has not changed, so the heater module is the same. So unfortunately, it would be really nice if they upgraded the heater to a larger heater, but maybe there are some motion control constraints. Maybe they just can't move that quickly. And of course, the build volume is the same, all of good stuff. But in addition to the hardware upgrades, there's a few other things that they're announcing as well. There's three other things coming with this announcement that I want to talk about that I think you might find interesting. The first of which is a native mobile app. This is basically the Prusa Connect, but in a mobile app. And this was actually kind of nice to see. I usually just kind of bookmark it on my phone and go directly to the website, but to see it as a mobile app is kind of nice. It's definitely a lot less cluttered and commercialized than the BAMBU app is becoming and the Creality app is. It's less of like a marketplace and more of just a fleet management tool to where you can see all your printers, see the status, see the print history, things like that, which kind of speaks to me a little bit more. I don't really need to browse models and stuff like that. So I like that it is really just a fleet management tool. So that is pretty interesting. And I have the beta version and I've been using it. Yeah, everything seems fine. The biggest thing that's missing, of course, is camera feeds. Prusa still, for whatever reason, doesn't think that cameras need to be on printers. It would be really, really nice if I could just click a button and view the camera feed. That is, of course, missing, but everything else seems pretty good. I've been using Prusa Connect for a while now, and yeah, I like it. It works well, especially if I'm doing exactly what you see behind me is printing a bunch of stuff. I can just kind of at a glance see the status of everything, so that's nice. The other thing that's coming that I'm actually pretty excited about is this GPIO board. So it looks like it connects into the controller of the printer over I2C and then gives you a bunch of GPIO pins. There's like a camera trigger for doing time lapses and other just general purpose input-output, GPIO pins, where in theory, maybe you could connect up to a fan, connect up to lights. I don't really have any more information than that, but in typical Prusa fashion, it's probably going to be very well documented, and there's going to be a lot of interesting features with it, and it's probably going to be hooked in with the slicer and the interface. So I'm actually pretty excited about that. It'd be really interesting to, I don't know, blink the LEDs on top of my rack red when something is in an error state, whatever. Theoretically, this GPIO board will give you that functionality. And the last thing that they're coming out with is kind of in this similar vein. It is an accelerometer kit for the printers. And the idea behind this is there'll be some sort of accelerometer thing that will attach to the head, and it will let you get your own readings and do your own tuning of the input shaping. Prusa's been pretty adamant that their settings are perfect and you don't need to mess with them. I still don't really agree with that because I know that when you move a printer from one area to another area and retune it, when it has an accelerometer, it definitely gives you different values. They claim that they have one value for every printer in every situation. So this accelerometer kit will allow you to actually connect an accelerometer and actually tune it yourself. So that will be kind of interesting. From all of this, it sounds like they're definitely listening to what the community is saying, so that is good. I have no price on the GPIO board and no price on the accelerometer kit, but it's been indicated that they won't be that expensive. So hopefully they will be relatively inexpensive and give the tuners and hackers something that they can play with and upgrade the printer. So we will see how that goes. ETA is hopefully like in the next month or so, but once again, I don't really know for sure. These things won't be shipping immediately. So the printer came with this lovely review guide that kind of goes over all the basic stuff that you already know. You know, Prusa's made in Europe and you know, open source, all that good stuff. But what they're really focusing on a lot in here is just reliability and print quality. So this is, you know, kind of the Prusa that we all know and love. And I will say that with the Mark 4S, I'm starting to see the print quality more. The Mark IV felt very similar to my Mark III. It just felt like maybe a slightly faster version of it. But something about the Mark 4S, the new tuned profiles, which I'm running one right now, this is like the draft mode in the faster mode. The new tuned profiles, the new tuned input shaper, and the new nozzle and new cooling, this thing can generate some really S-tier print quality, about as good as it gets for a modern FDM printer. So I printed out a ton of stuff. Let's go over and look at the print quality of stuff that comes off of the new Mark 4S. So this is Prusa's kind of flagship model. This is a rocket engine model. And as you can see, I mean, it's gorgeous. It has a lot of tricky overhangs. It has a lot of really difficult geometry, but it just looks fantastic. I don't see any issues with this. I actually printed this one personally. There was a pre-sliced version of this. There's a lot of pre-sliced stuff on the SD card that came with it. I actually double-checked every single thing that was pre-sliced on the SD card was the exact same file size if I sliced it using the new just stock profile. So no funny business there, which is nice. The only issues on this print, there's a little bit of roughness on the outside of these right there because that is all fairly extreme overhangs. It's rough, but I'm not even really sure if that's going to show up too much on camera. And then they also provided this in the Prusa orange as well. I mean, it's just a gorgeous model, and there is really no flaws here whatsoever. This is what you would consider a pretty perfect print. No ringing, no issues at all. Really, really nice. I'll try my best to link to all these models, but that's a lot of links. This is one of those storage boxes that you see. I didn't have the right size hinges or pins, so I've got some like too small dowel pins. That's the rattling you hear. But if we look at the inside, it's really, really, really good. And this was printed, I think 0.25 millimeters, because I wanted this to go a little bit faster, 0.4 millimeter nozzle. And this printed in about an hour and a half less than what the Mark IV would take, and it was about an hour longer than what the X1 was showing. So, you know, it's not the fastest printer, but man, it looks really, really good. And of course, this is Galaxy Black, and just, you know, prints wonderfully. And the thing that I will definitely attest to is I feel that Prusa definitely has the best first layer. I've not been able to get the same first layer on any other printer out there. Their build plates are the best, and that is just a perfect, perfect first layer. So yeah, I was really happy with how this came out. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time with every single one of these models, but as you can see, I did a fair bit of testing, and you know, everything works generally how you would expect it. The tolerances are nice. I really didn't have any failures. There was one failure that I had with this. It just lifted from the build plate. I realized that it was a brand new fresh build plate and I didn't clean it properly. I cleaned it and, well, here it is. It's totally fine. But yeah, really nice quality. This is a sample that they actually sent me. This is TPU with a nice little core on it. This is a model that they actually pre-sliced with the printer just to kind of show fine detail and overhangs, and yeah, looks really good. We'll talk about overhangs here in a second because I think that's where this printer is actually really interesting. But yeah, very delicate, fine details, looks great. This is actually a Benchy in TPU. Looks great, no real issues with it whatsoever. This was actually printing in the intro. This is one of the things that was printing. This is another TPU bracelet. This was printing in the intro. As you can see, I've got a torture toaster here. Yeah, everything worked the way it should. Toast lifts up. Open this door. I accidentally broke this off. First time printing one of these, I didn't know how it worked, and I was prying it from the underneath side and broke that off. Everything up to the 0.2 is free, so the 0.2 is free, the 0.1 is stuck. That's pretty typical stuff. And then the overhangs. So yeah, pretty typical, nothing too crazy. Same with this little test, everything looks pretty good. 0.2 is actually stuck in there. I could probably force it out. Bridging, yeah. Everything looks good. Let's talk about overhangs because I think this is where the printer really excels. So let's talk about overhangs because I think that is probably the single largest improvement on the Mark 4S over the Mark IV and even the Mark III. This is a headphone stand model. It came pre-sliced, but they also included the file as well. And as you can see, it has a very steep overhang to it, and it printed pretty good. It's a little bit rough, definitely not as smooth as the rest of it, and it could have been sliced with adaptive layers, but overall it looks really good. And this is a pretty extreme overhang. Once again, this was printed without any support, so it's printed just like that. Looks really good. They also included some of these overhang tests. Let me zoom in a little bit closer so we can see this. So this was another file that came pre-sliced, but I actually ended up slicing this myself just to be sure. So you've got front here, and then you basically have overhangs all the way up to 75 degrees. And it's not perfect. There's definitely some roughness on the surface, but what this is showing is that it's very even. Every single one of these spokes has about the same level of roughness, and if we flip this over, that's what a 75-degree overhang looks like. And if you look about right here, that's 70 degrees. So that's pretty good. Once again, no supports, just printed strictly out of PLA. This is Galaxy Black once again. So what this is telling me is that from pretty much any angle around the extruder, doesn't matter the orientation, I'm going to be able to get about 70 degrees overhang without too much issue. But if I go down to 60, at 60, it's pretty much perfect. So this can do 60-degree overhang, sometimes 70, and at the worst possible times, you can kind of get by with 75 degrees. Now, of course, I'm going to want to test this on a different printer. So how does this look like on, let's say, the BAMBU? So here is the exact same model printed on the BAMBU X1C. And as you can see, it's pretty rough. It's really rough. 75 degrees was just absolutely not happening. 60 was fine. 60 is fine. 70 started to get a little bit away from it, and 75 wasn't happening at all. And I know some of you might be saying, well, yeah, but you know, it's an enclosure. I had the door open the whole time and I had the lid off. I also modified the profile to have 100% fan. I did everything I could to get this to succeed. And this actually took, on the BAMBU, about 10 minutes longer than what it did on the Mark IV. Like, look, I'm not trying to be a Prusa salesman right here. I'm not trying to be a shill, as everyone likes saying, but this is the same file with the same roll of filament on the BAMBU. And it had a hard time with those overhangs. So, kind of interesting. But there's more. So this is an overhang platter. Really, it's just a model that is a series of stacked little overhangs that end up forming this beautiful little platter. This was one of the pre-sliced models that was on the Mark IV-S. It prints like that, just straight up. It is a 75-degree overhang. I load up some filament, hit print, and this is what I got. I did double check. I took the model, sliced it, double checked. This was the exact same file size, exact same time estimate, so there's nothing weird or funny going on. So I thought, hey, I'm gonna try to do this model on the BAMBU. This was an entire day trying to get this thing to print. I tried a lot of different things. Of course, I had the door open, I had the lid off, trying to get more circulation, more airflow in there, turned up the fan, turned down the fan, maybe it was like too aggressive. In every single case, the edges just curled up. It wasn't able to properly cool the edges before it would kind of go back around and then knock into them, and you can see it was just colliding and having a lot of issues. I'll probably throw in some footage here. It sounded horrible, it looked horrible, and I couldn't get this to work. I end up getting it to function, and I print it, and it looks really good. It looks equal, I would say, to the Prusa in terms of quality. They both look very, very good. What I ended up doing with the BAMBU to get this to actually work was slow it down. This took 5 hours and 10 minutes, and this took 3.5 hours. That's right. The Prusa Mark IV-S actually took significantly less time. And it was funny, when you watch this being printed, it was just going around, you know, doing its happy little 3D printing thing, and it was cooling. It was literally doing the overhangs. They were cooling in place, no curling, no warping. With this, it had to go so much slower to make sure that those ends didn't just curl up and interfere. So I thought that was fascinating that not only the material selection, you notice I was trying different materials. I could not get this to print with the Prusa filament. This is Bamboo Tough PLA. It was the only thing I could get it to work reasonably, and it looks really, really nice, by the way. But this at 5 hours was the only way I could get this to print. Just for grins, put the same filament into the Prusa, literally just same file, hit print, and here we go. No failures at all on the Mark IV, printed fine in either filament in 3.5 hours. And with the Bamboo, this was the only filament that I could get to work, and it took a little over 5 hours. So I thought that was really fascinating. But what's even more fascinating is this relatively small, unenclosed bed slinger retails for $1,100. And that's really the elephant in the room. If this was $500, be flying off the shelf, it would dominate the market. But it's not. It's $1,100. And for that price, you don't get a webcam, you don't get a fancy like web interface or, clipper interface. You don't get a lot of the stuff that the other competitors are selling you. What do you get? Well, you get really, really good print quality. You get great reliability. You get, I think, the best build plates in the industry and probably the best first layer out of any printer. Is that enough to compensate for everything else? I don't know. It's a hefty price tag for the feature set that you get, and in 2024, a relatively small bed slinger for that price is still a really difficult pill to swallow, even with the print quality that this thing has demonstrated. Overall, I think the Mark IV is a welcome improvement over the Mark IV. I don't see any issues with the 4S being worse in any way than the Mark IV, and I think it is a significant enough upgrade that almost everyone that has a Mark IV should upgrade to the Mark 4S. That is kind of a given. I'm going to be upgrading my Mark IV as well. Whether or not the Mark 4S is a good enough printer on its own, is this enough of an upgrade? That's something that we'll just have to wait and see. For me, I really like it. It's working fantastically. It kind of gives me that little bit extra of print quality that I was kind of looking for from the Bamboo. And the overhang performance, also the flexible performance. This thing prints TPU really, really well. Most Prusas do. Anything that's a slower printing filament, the Prusa is going to be really great at. But I'm still going to keep my Bamboo around for high-speed prototyping. It is kind of my go-to if I just want something really quick, and I care a little bit less about what I get out of it. I just kind of want to print a proof of concept really quickly. That's not to say that it prints bad in any way. It's just kind of a quicker printer. It put more of its skill points into speed rather than ultimate quality, whereas something like the Mark 4S kind of has all of its skill points in reliability and quality, and everything else is just kind of a bit lower. I am very curious to see how the rest of the market, the rest of the internet is going to respond to this. When you're watching this video, there's going to be a lot of other videos where someone's sitting next to the printer with all their little 3D printed toys, talking about their impressions, and check out the affiliate link down below, blah, blah, blah. I'm just really curious to see how it all goes. I don't know if it's going to be a big flop or if people are going to love it. The 3D printing community right now is very, very fickle. And the YouTube reviewers are also equally fickle. If they're making a ton of money off of Bamboo and Creality and their other affiliates, maybe they're not going to be as warm to this printer. Who knows? And that's why I like kind of sitting back and watching it. There's no affiliate links down below. If Prusa burns down to the ground, doesn't matter to me. If they sell 1 million of these, doesn't matter to me. I'm not getting any money out of it. So I'm just kind of curious to sit back and watch and see what happens and see what other people say in their videos. And we'll just see how the general public likes the Mark 4S. I really like it. I think it's a decent printer, but who knows how it is compared to everything else out there on the market. So as always, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Do your research, watch all the videos you can, and make an informed decision. Bye.